I'm gonna start with Ethereum because I want us to see where we are in the daily picture. So yesterday things looked incredibly positive. We had consolidated here on this support and resistance line, and came up on the 20 and the 55 on the daily, which looked incredible for support. And then it all went south very quickly and broke through the local supports, which I'm going to show you. But the reason why I'm starting with the daily channel is for you to see the space that I believe this is going to stay in for the next while. So we have two major support lines here. One of them is the 1290. Let's say 13, and I know 1300, 1350 is a big number for Ethereum, so somewhere around here. But for this swing, 1300 was a bit more relevant. But between this line here, and this line here, this is the space that that I believe we're gonna be moving in until the next big drop. Now I don't know when the next big drop will happen, but for sure I don't believe we're going anywhere in terms of the upside anytime soon. There was a big rejection on the day. The 20 definitely now it has crossed the 50. It had an attempt yesterday to cross upward, which looked fantastic, but it was just a fake out. The stochastic on the day is down. You can see why it stopped there. It hit the 1486 level of support on the day here. And in my opinion, it might do some consolidation today, but the trend stays down, and I believe that the 1300 now is definitely in the cards. So in terms of the 4 hour, again, the wedge that I modified a while ago is holding at the bottom line. If this wedge spills, which is now again, it is a 4 hour wedge. It might take a while for the 4 hour wedge to spill. So sometimes they do a bit of consolidation on the bottom line. The target would be 700. Now 700 would only take us halfway there through my next target, which would be around 500. So so we have a couple of steps for Ethereum to go until I believe we have the bottom in for this bear market at least. But yeah, I wanted you to see this daily space between the descending divergence line and then the two support lines, because I think that's relevant for these weeks. And especially when we correlate it with this wedge. In terms of this wedge, this line might give a little bit of a spill. And what happened to Bitcoin on the daily? So keep in mind that the bit of overspill from the wedge, and then maybe a back test, which would coincide with the daily hanging about these levels and then dropping lower. But yeah, now locally speaking, again, Ethereum was a textbook trade to make. Because it followed the levels so closely and so neatly. So this wedge here broke. The bottom line didn't stop it. It broke out. It back tested it, and by back testing it, it back tested the validation for the up. The validation for the up, of course, couldn't be turned back into support. It came back down to the validation for the down, and now it broke it. It back tested it, and of course the more logical trade here would be another leg down to the 1468, which would be along the lines of the 4 hour wedge. And where it is right now, we could start moving it a little bit lower to include the current price action until a bigger spill is confirmed. Now the bigger spill is confirmed, I believe, when we break this this low here, the 1420, and then of course the, just a second, okay, perfect, and then of course the 1350 locally. On the daily, the levels are a little bit different. On the daily, this level here, if we break it, the next level would be the 1300. So if you were to make a daily trade, you know, which might take about I don't know, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, depending on how volume is, you would be, if this level breaks and at the back test. So it's not just the breaking like this, it's the back test and then the failure to be turned back into support, then the next level to 1300 would be hit. And the next, and this this daily trade is a 10% trade, so I know it looks small on the daily chart, but it's worth doing. Ethereum has lovely levels to trade. Now I'm looking where we are here, and these were my wedge targets here. These little, but I had a different wedge back then, so I'm gonna adjust this target, and I'm gonna place it at breakout here, and it comes down to 1430, which would be a double bottom with this structure. So I know I have a lot of lines here, but because of the sideways structure that we've been in, I am following these milestones in my trades as well, because it's essential to see this back test and this step-by-step descent or step-by-step ascent. So the way it hit the line here 3 times, this is a triple top, this one didn't reach it. Ethereum loves Ethereum. I'm starting to notice in this sideways, because when I was trading the bull market, the moves were a lot more not necessarily explosive, but accelerated. So I'm starting to notice now the bear market patterns and the bear market levels a lot better. My sensitivity to that is heightening. Ethereum loves its quadruple tops. I've seen XRP do those as well. Bitcoin not so much, but here, for instance, that would have been a beautiful entry for a short at this rejection. And yes, I know I would be following this level as well, but this line doesn't break. So it tried once, it tried twice, tried 3 times, 4 times, didn't even get to it. 4 times, especially when it breaks the 55 on the 15 minutes here, good trade to go down to the bottom here, the bottom line, which was again back testing the validation. And watching again, even if it breaks it, see it come up and back test it, but because that will happen. And Ethereum loves its double back test. So if you have a look here, I'm sorry, I get excited about, I know this is my first talk of the day, and I get very excited when I see TA playing out so beautifully. So it broke it here, back tested here, and here it started to drop. And yes, Ethereum does like its double back tests. It has them in several. Here, for instance, it had it for the up twice. Here it had it for the down twice. So don't be fearful at the back test situation. Put a stop loss if you want to remove the emotional factor from it, and then watch to see how it plays out. Because, you know, if you put a stop loss above the previous high here, it's not even hit. So that's where Ethereum is. I believe, again, we might see some back test here of this line, maybe even the 55 on the 15 minute. Now, I haven't watched how often Ethereum likes to backtest the 55. I know XRP loves that backtest. There is a backtest here and then another drop. There's loads of backtests here, but that's the sideways. Let me see here. Backtest, drop. So Ethereum does like its 15 minute 55 EMA backtest. So you might see it come up here and then dropping. But that to me is the height of the lift for where we are right now. I'm not saying they might not do a super push up as a stop loss hunt, but the trend, the uptrend for Ethereum has been very much rejected. Like it's a pretty clear rejection what happened yesterday. So it's I would be more inclined to watch for the tops coming down than to watch for the bottoms going up, until of course we have some super support gained on higher time frames. You know my story. Okay, in terms of the local levels, Hong Kong, so New York started dropping yesterday, Sydney, Tokyo, Hong Kong followed, so we have 1, 2, 3 bottoms from the previous session. EU put a leg here as well, so we might see today a lift from the M1 to M3. It is a big step for Ethereum to make this. It would be like it's a 10% for Ethereum to make this. So it sounds very unlikely, but it is, if it is holding the M1, we might see at least. So again, I'm very conservative because to my mind, it sounds unreal to see a 10% lift after that spill yesterday. But again, it would be a great opportunity to collect liquidity from all the shorts that went in yesterday. So at least a test of the daily open back here would be a 50% lift. So if you've entered a short somewhere around here, you might see a back test. Again, we are in a very wide range for Ethereum, and it's very volatile. So moves like this can be can happen very quickly. Watch to see on the daily levels. If it breaks the psychological high, then it's going for the M3 or at least the pivot point here. So, and if it breaks the M3, of course, we're talking about higher levels. But at the moment, it's fighting for support. So M1, M2, M3 are support levels. So breaking those would mean falling lower. Of course, the opposite is true as well on the daily. I just like the 15-minute stochastic and the 1 hour have topped out. Well, the 1 hour hasn't topped out, sorry. That was, I have Bitcoin and XRP in my mind, but it's going to very soon. So it has given plenty of space for another drop to happen. But we'll see what happens here. Again, the market makers love their games. Everybody would be putting in a short at the tops here, and they would just be continually pushing it up to liquidate them. So watch to see for those levels if they happen. I don't believe they're going to happen in the short term. I think there might be another drop to reset the 15 and maybe another lift. We'll see how that happens. Okay, now a drop from the ARK happened as well. There was the fake out and then the drop. Oh, that was a sneeze. Okay, and we have some MAs turning here, but nothing spectacular. The only thing that I noticed positive here about the MAs is that the 50 is going slightly sideways and the 200 is as well, so they're not spilling. But the 20 has crossed the 20 has crossed the 200, so sorry, that's the 100. Where do I have the 100 here? 20 has crossed the 100 here on the 1 hour, which is going to push down a bit. So that would confirm the short term, as in a couple of hours pushing down, couple of hours lifting up today, maybe a couple of sideways moves here along this yellow line and in this space until it hits this and until it breaks that further down. So we'll see how that plays out. It's very tricky. We are right now, I was talking to Roy about it yesterday. Let me open this out on the 1 hour. Yes, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna bring the line of the ARK here. So we are right now on the 1 hour ARK. So as you see the triangle of the 1 hour, we call this the last Roy's passion for poetry. We call this the final part of the ARK, Death Valley. So the initial two parts of the ARK. So if you're to separate the ARK in terms of parts, you know, as you would do with one of them fib tools. So this would be the first one, this would be the second one, this would be the final one. Now Death Valley is the trickiest time to trade because of the small space it's moving in. Well, fortunately Ethereum has had wonderful ranges, so I'm not talking about Ethereum here because Ethereum has had a great lift, but in terms of the volatility, so there could be spikes either way, but the trend is still down. That's what I want you to understand. So if you the safer trades right now are the short trades until we have structure, at least on the 1 hour. So as soon as we don't even have a 1 hour holding any MA, we don't have any structure, the trend is down. If the 1 hour starts having any sort of structure, you might see a temporary lift. Okay, now that was Ethereum. Now moving on to Bitcoin. Bitcoin has reached, again, just like Ethereum, one of my daily support levels here, the orange line. It hasn't reached yet my target for the channel. Bitcoin did a back test of let me change to the daily. There we go. Bitcoin didn't do the back test that I expected it to do. It was the only one between XRP and Ethereum that didn't have that back test. Right now it is holding on to this line, but I don't think this is going to be, just in the case of Ethereum, I don't think this is going to be for a long time. I believe it might come down and even do a lower low. Again, the trend for Bitcoin is not looking great, and its force for recovering any drop is very weak. Now, of course, what I'm saying is also the market makers, and again, it's not an adversarial overview, but it is how the market, it's how the market works. They want to make it look as pessimistic as possible, like literally all doom and gloom. And considering what's happening in the microclimate, I do believe that a slightly lower low here is totally possible where we are right now. So technically speaking, shorts are more probable right now. I tried to trade last week a retest of the 20 and a retest of the 55. Of course, that didn't happen. It did on XRP. It did on Ethereum, but not on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin was heavier to move. I redid the arcs yesterday, and I separated the two 15-minute arcs, and I know this looks miserable, but this is the one that showed the breakout. And we'll be keeping a tighter look on the 15-minute arc from now on because I was too generous with the levels of the swings. So if I put this from, I'll put this from the spill here. We still have space to go, which makes perfect sense because I believe what it's doing right now, it's doing a mid-range high, and then it's going to come down for the third spike. And then we're going to do the sideways until we do a final drop. So we've had a nice drop yesterday. Chances are we might be seeing some sideways today, and then some further spillage during the week. The 1 hour has topped out in Bitcoin, so this is what I was talking about, the stochastic. It's trying to get back into the wedge. So the wedge that I was looking at yesterday failed miserably, I would say. Maybe I'm exaggerating. It was a good wedge. I'm sorry, wedge. Don't want to hurt your feelings. So the wedge spilled. So this line didn't hold. I'm looking now at the possibility of readjusting it. Maybe putting it here. Oh, maybe here. Okay. It would still be a possibility. So in this case, the wedge wouldn't have failed. But I'm mindful of doing that because the more I do it, so I like this line the way it is, a central line for all of this, the way it is here, resistance, and then it becomes support. I'm losing the touch with the swing here, which I don't want to do. So I'd rather, yeah, okay, I'll leave it the way I had it. So yeah, there's no support on the 1 hour. It's fighting back into the wedge, or it's back testing the wedge. At the moment, I'm not in a trade. I'm waiting for structure. at the top, 2 short. So that would be my entry. So a double top or a back test of the 1 hour 20 would be normal. We are below the 786. We haven't reached any further than that, but if it gains support on the 786 and maybe the 702, again, that would be a nice entry for a push, another push down. In terms of and this was very nice again. Target hit here, and now we are en route for this target. We might go up and test the 19K level one more time. We'll see if that happens. I don't believe it will. Maybe even this validation for downward move, because this one wasn't the yellow line here, because this one wasn't tested. But we'll see if we gain support. So I'll hold back on my lift projections, because we don't have any support at the moment on the 1 hour. So I can't talk about a daily trade going up without support on the 1 hour. Okay, now on the daily levels, in terms of having a look at traders' reality, we are holding the M2, which is good. We're holding a level of support. There is so much here to fight back against. That's why I'm saying another leg down is quite imminent, and I'm watching for an entry to the top to follow it down. There's the high average daily range, above which it costs more for the MMs to move the market. There's the pivot point here, they're quite close together. And then there's the M3, which is notorious for reversals. So somewhere around here, the 19.5K we might see a retest, and that would be a nice point for shorting if we see the oscillators on the 15-minute topping out. It's a nice entry. That's it for me. Have a good day trading. Keep an eye out on your TA and refresh it if you have to. You see me sometimes redoing my charts in the morning. That's the daily maintenance, and then we watch it and we see it play out. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, and good luck trading. I'll leave you with Roy now.
Let's start here. You can see, excuse me. You can see price action broke the 618 here, 32.32, and when you zoom it out a little bit, again you can see this wedge here. So you see it's coming down, and you could put a general target on this. To the bottom of the wedge here, yeah, and that would be about 31 or so, yeah. So maybe it's already bottomed out and we're starting to go into a consolidation here. So let's have a look at that, yeah. And while we're doing that, here's the 3 arcs that we're watching here, and this smaller arc here, you got the first level, the second level, and again now we've got the third level, and we've got the drop down. So we'll move this one to here. Equally the bigger one here is we will move. So the second one there, you can see Skyline, Mountain Peak, third drop, and again as soon as this bottoms out, it looks like we'll be heading for final peak, final bounce, and then I think we'll have a real big move, yeah. Equally on the smaller one here, the red one here, Skyline is third spike, and again when this bottoms out, it looks like we'll be heading up for Mountain Peak on a smaller one as well, yeah. And then on the bigger one here, again, as it stands, it looks like we're we've had our skyline up here, resistance peak, first spike, second spike, mid-range high, third spike, first drop, and again we have a drop here. So now the only thing I'm questioning about this, if this goes further, if this drops down further and does a much bigger drop, I may have to reset. I may have to reset this bigger one, and potentially the second arc here is this may be third drop, final peak, final bounce, final retrace, and then it has its breakout of this second one here, this one here, yeah. So we'll see how far this wants to go down, yeah. So that's my challenge with the arcs here, trying to figure out where the bottom of this movement is, yeah. So now when I look at my support lines here, support and resistance, is you can see it broke out of, remember yesterday I was showing the red channel here. It broke out of the red channel. Again, back tested. Okay, so now the question is it going to move deeper into the white channel here? So you can see the bottom of the white channel here is that would be a bigger drop. That would take it down to 28 or so, possibly a little lower than the lower low here. Yeah. So that's the question. That's the question. I'm wondering which is it? You know, which is it? When I look at this channel, this chart, again, this seems like just a mess. But these are all the support and resistance lines from past history. And I was pointing this out to you yesterday, that if you remember the yellow, you see the yellow lines here, each one of these yellow lines, when it breaks, it's a big move. It's a big move. And this goes all the way back. You can see the history, goes all the way back to the history, and you can see each level is a big move, yeah. The blue lines equally are smaller moves, but still substantial, yeah. And then when you get closer in, you have the support and resistance lines in red, yeah. So historically, these have all proven themselves. All these lines have proven themselves historically to be valid support and resistance lines. So when you zoom in, you can see that there is a blue channel here. See the blue channel here? Same as the red channel, by the way. Same as the red channel on the other chart. Yeah. You can see the yellow line here. This is one of those parabolic lines that when it breaks and breaks proper, there's a big drop all the way down here at 19 cent or so. Yeah, 20 cent. So you can see it dropped out of it. Did a lot of testing of it, back testing to break back in, tried to break back in there again and got rejected, and here it is pushing down. So that's an indication it's going for a bigger drop. We'll see. If it just breaks this channel here, the target of that would be about 26 cent, 27 cent, yeah. And then equally, it's after breaking through this blue channel. You can see the blue channel was holding price action up for the last 7 or 8 days. And it broke through. So we've got a breakthrough here. Potentially the target down here is again 27, 28 cent. Yeah. So that's we'll see. We'll see. So we have a short-term target of about 30.50, which I reckon there's 30 down there. Is we're coming down here, and I might decide that 30 is enough. 31 might even be enough. This might even be enough here. You can see there's quite a rejection on the daily at the moment. this may be enough and lift it back up. If it isn't, I'd be looking at 30 cent. If 30 cent breaks, then I'm looking at this blue line at 27.28, potentially down here at 27. Yeah, that would be the next. That would be the next target. Yeah. So now when we zoom in, I want to have a look at the EMAs, because yesterday I pointed out that I'll just go to this one on the 4 hour. Let me show you here. There we go. On the 4 hour, the question is, was the 20 EMA going across the 55 on the 4 hour? If it had, generally that's a lift of a minimum of 15%, which would have taken it up to 38 or so. Yeah. Now there's a rejection. There's a rejection at the 4 hour here, so potentially we're looking at a drop of 28, applying the same principle. Yeah. But we got to see. We got to see. You can see that price action is having a proper go at trying to break it. So here's one attempt. Here's a second attempt. So the question is that will the VWAP hold here? Will the VWAP hold here and it come and have another go at it? Yeah. Or will price action after the drop? Let me just show you on the 1 hour. Back to the 1 hour. So you can see the spill was on the 1 hour. The drop happens across the 1 hour dropped. There is a tendency for a back test, so that when price action does its first drop, it back tests to at least the 55. And if the 55 is broken, you get a lift up. If it gets rejected, it goes for that bigger drop. So for a trade, that's what I'm watching for. I'm watching to see if price action will come back up and hit the 55, and then whether it will get broken or not. And that's where I'll be looking for a potential trade. Yeah. If I zoom in on the 15, you can see the 15 where it is now. The 5 came down, bounced off the VWAP, or sorry, the 20, the white line, came down, bounced off the VWAP, and it's done a little bit of a lift. But you can see it's getting rejected off the 55 at the moment. But again, this space here, you can see there's an impulse moving up here. Yeah. And these ones tend to be high when they lift like that, and there's not much of a 1-2. A 1-2 on it generally is a high lift. So when you look at the 5, you'll see the 5 has crossed over. Yeah. So there may be a little bit of a back test to the VWAP, and then a bounce. So you'll see maybe price action come back and do a bit of a back test, and then we'll see if it bounces. So I'll be looking to see if on the 15 minute, will the 20 cross over the 55? Because if it does, that's clearly telling me that it's going up. It's going to break the back on the 1 hour now. It's going to break up above the 20 on the 1 hour and wick off the 55. Yeah. So now, while I'm watching that, I'll also be watching the MAs. Okay. So now when I'm watching the MAs, let me just go back to. I'll stay on the 4 hour for now. Yeah, it is the 4 hour. Yeah. Now, if you look down at the bottom left, the second here, the stock RSI, the 4 hour is now coming to the oversold. Yeah. It finally came down, and the thing is, it came down fast. Like, this is not a big move for this 4 hour to get down here. So it got down pretty fast. If you look at this drop here on the 4 hour, is again, you can see it came down. You can see there was quite a bit of, so it pretty much looks the same actually. If you look at this, you can see the drop and a bit of sideways come here, and then came down, did another drop. Yeah. So if this follows a similar pattern, we've got the drop here. We could get maybe another drop here or a bit of sideways and then another drop, and that may be the bottom of it. That may be the bottom of it, coming down and hitting 31 or so, 31, 31, 30, 50, something like that. Yeah, it may do that, and we slip into another sideways, or it could be something. It could be something else. So let's just explore. If we look at the later time frames, why that might be more. Well, if it was going to go further, why would it? Just a quick look at the monthly. We're going to just look at the monthly, the weekly, and maybe a couple of the dailies. Yeah. So on the monthly, you can see the 5 coming down here is applying quite a bit of pressure. So that's a thing. Yeah. You can see the 10 there's a distance between the 5 and the 10 MAs, so it is starting to move quite a distance away. Yeah. So the further away it gets from the 10, the weaker it gets as well. So you can also see that this is potentially moving into a consolidation. Like you can see the irregular consolidation phase, up, down, not necessarily breaking the bottom here, up again, down again, and then off it goes. Yeah. Or down it goes. If this is the bottom, that's the way it would happen. Yeah, it would do a consolidation sideways. But there is pressure, so the monthly is definitely saying it could go further. And the weekly, again, remember the consolidation phase I was pointing out in the monthly? Look at it on the weekly. So you got the down, you got the up, you third spike, mountain peak, third drop, and you can see it playing out here on the weekly. Yeah. Now the weekly is, you can see that this week that turned, the 5 crossed strongly over the 10. Yeah. But now it is in a consolidation pattern the way it is now. Yeah. So even though that 5 come over like that, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going into big spill mode, because in a consolidation phase like this, you can see the way the 5 and the 10 start to bind around each other while the 20 is coming down. So I don't think there's going to be any particular big drop until the 10 comes down and pushes further. So the question is, if you look at that in next week, just look at the movement of the 20. Like next week, the 20 will be here. The week after that, the 20 will be here. So the 20 is coming in pretty soon, and within that, you could get a little push down here. Is that the 10 starts to come around over the next week or two, and depending on where the 5 and 10, the 5 is you may have the 5 and 10 battle the 20 here for a lift, or the 20 just comes in and says, no, we're going down, and then that's where we get the bigger push. So you can see we're still in that consolidation phase, and in the weekly, and I think until the 20 comes in and starts applying pressure here, we're not going to have a bigger move. So that makes sense when it comes to the arcs playing out. There's a push down now. I don't think it's going to go too far, and then I think we might get a lift up. And we'll get that lift up for mountain peak and final mountain peak on the small one, final peak on the second one here, and we'll get that playing out possibly over the next week or two, and then we're going to have the bigger move. Yeah, that's what it seems like just looking at the MAs. Yeah, so when we flick into the daily, sorry, I'll go back to the week for a second. Just with the bottom on the second on the right, the stock RSI. You see on the weekly, the stock RSI is very close to the top again. Yeah. So this is one of the things I noticed about a weekly the other day. How quickly look at price action. This is the weekly now. Yeah, and then bottom second on the right. Yeah, is the bottom of the week here. The RSI. Look how little how much little lift the price action has done for the RSI to get back to the top. Now when you go back to the bottom here and you go up, is look how much it came down on the last drop, and look how little it's come back up on this lift. So you can see at the moment that when the weekly RSI comes down, there's bigger drops. When the weekly RSI goes up, it's not coming up nearly as much as it's going down. Yeah, at the moment. So that pattern is still playing out. So now it's getting very close to the top again. Is we could have another little lift here, which might lift it into the overbought, and again, then it looks like it has to go down again to reset itself, potentially. So now it can, if you look at where I'm circling here, is you can see where it can bottom out at times. It can bottom out at times, and it can stay down there quite a bit. So when the pressure is coming down, and we're in the bear market, is the bottoms can stay a lot longer than the tops. So that may flip. Literally, if this is the bottom, and the price action starts to move up from here, it'll mean that we'll end up spending more time on the top end of the weekly RSI, and when we hit the bottom, we won't spend as long there. So that may flip. So if we do have another push down, whenever we do hit the bottom, that RSI will flip. So at the moment, when we're at the bottom, we seem to spend far longer. But when that flips, it will be the reverse. So if this is the bottom and we're going to have a reverse, we may end up spending more time at the top on this one. Time will tell. So we'll see. Then on the daily. Now on the daily here, yesterday, bottom right, is the MACD crossed over. This actually crossed over, gave a nice lift, but by the end of the day, it uncrossed and turned down. Yeah. Equally, the daily, the RSI is back up the top. So that looks like it could go up a little bit more, but that looks like it may want to go down. Now, something very interesting here is when we go over to the bottom left. There's a bullish divergence on the daily. So you can see that here, if you look at price action, you've got this level here, and the next level there is lower, and then the next level is lower. But when you go bottom left, is you can see the same price action. You've got the RSI here. The RSI, while price action goes down, the RSI is level. Now price action went down again, and the RSI is higher. So on the daily, there's a very strong bullish divergence appearing, which tells me that there isn't much more to the bottom of this before we actually get our lift. And again, our lift, I reckon we're going up to somewhere in the late 30s. So that seems to be playing out here. And then today, you can see there's quite a rejection wick on the candle at the moment. Yeah, at the moment. So we'll see. We'll be looking to see the bottom right again. Looking to see if the MACD crosses over. Yeah. Okay. So just a quick look at the 2-day. So the 2-day, the RSI is at the bottom. It looks pretty spilly here. If you look at the 5, there's the VWAP is down, the yellow line, the 5, the orange, the 10 is coming down. So part of the push that's pushing this down is the 10 on the 2-day. Because I think if the day in its own had its choice, the day would have turned up and kept going up yesterday. But it looks like the 10 on the 2-day is applying its pressure. Yeah. So again, we'll see the 2-day is going to turn again on the 8th of September. So tomorrow, so we'll see how much of a lift, how much of a correction will come in today, and how will it affect the end of the day. And then the 3-day. Yeah, look at the 5 and the 3-day again. The 3-day is looking super speedy. Yeah. And again, this the RSI, second on the bottom from the left, right, RSI is bottoming out here. If you go over to the left again, is you can see that there's a on the 3-day there is a bullish divergence, yeah. So again, it's the same thing. Look, price action is here, and then I went lower, and look, there's the RSI here, and then the RSI is higher. So while price action is coming down, the RSI is going up, and equally you can see there's a bullish divergence across the bottom here. So we could be looking at a triple bottom here, a triple bottom for a lift, yeah, on the 3-day. So that's something that's playing out there. I think it's also playing out. On. Yeah, there's divergence on the 4-hour. I think on the 4-day. Let me check the 5th day. Yeah. I knew I saw it on the 5th day as well. Yeah. So you see that the 5th day is also playing with. It's also showing a bullish divergence. So again, these can drag on now. So like they're playing over 5-day cycles. So this is something that could be going on for quite a while. Yeah. But the question is this triple bottom? Have we bottomed out here, and are we going to go for a relief rally over the next few weeks or not? Yeah. Okay, so now let me just zone in to the 12-hour. Just localizing it again a little bit more. You can see the 12-hour. The stop here on the second on the right bottom is heading down again. And then over on the left again, look at it again. There's bullish divergence here. Is you have price action coming lower, but yet the RSI is coming higher. And in particularly is that this sideways here and this previous drop, the RSI hasn't come down with it. So on the 12-hour is you can start to see that the bullish divergence is zoning in the short term. In the long term, it's showing in the dailies. But then equally, when you go down into the 12-hour, the bullish divergence is screaming here. But it's still over 12 hours, so you can have multiple 12 hours before you get the action. It has it on the 8-hour as well. The RSI here, you can see second on bottom from the right. The RSI is coming back down again. So again, what it may take is all these to come back to the bottom. So the 12-hour to get to the bottom, the 8-hour to get to the bottom. We zoom into the 4-hour. Look at the 4 hours after coming down pretty fast, as I said earlier, and that's starting to bottom out. And then look how strong the VWAP is. Now, part of the way the VWAP behave like this, what happens is that where are we now? What time is it? Okay, 12:30. So you see the way the VWAP has gone sideways here. So it's support. And then the 8-hour has turned, gone sideways. Because as we go through the day, the 10-hour, it should be, I see the 10-hour, has turned. Okay, so the 10-hour has turned, but it was still this drop was continuing when that turned earlier on. Yeah, let's look at the 12-hour. Okay, so now it makes sense. There we go. So look, the 9-hour just turned, 12 o'clock, my time. Is the 9-hour just turned, the VWAP goes sideways. So now, next to turn would be the 10-hour, VWAP will go sideways. And then 12 o'clock, when that turns in 2 hours, 30 minutes, is the VWAP will go sideways as well. And it'll be support. So then the question is when the VWAP goes sideways at the turn of the day, 12 o'clock, is at my time, I'm on UTC. I mean 12 o'clock UTC. I'm on a different time zone, so it'll be 3 o'clock my time during the day. But let's say 12 o'clock UTC is when the VWAP goes sideways, it'll be support. So the question is that if the VWAP stays as support for the rest of the day, how far will it lift it? That's partly what I'm thinking. Yeah. So here is the 4 hour after bottoming out. So potentially it's looking like this 4 hour might turn. The 5 here, while it may apply pressure, is you can see that it may actually turn. Not necessarily on this one, but maybe the next one down, the 5 might turn. The 5 might turn up. So that's what I'll be looking at. But we'll back test it. Has the 3 hour, the 5 and the 3 hour turn? You see, look, see the 5 and the 3 hour is nearly turning. Okay. Then the 2 hour, again, you can see the 5 has gone sideways. And then the 1 hour, again, look, the 1 hour is already turned, lifting back up through the VWAP, and the 5 is, or the 10, the blue one has gone sideways as well, yeah. And again, look at the bottom second on the right. You can see that the stock on the 1 hour is heading up. So now the question is how do we know what's the sign? What's a clear sign that it's turning up? I'm just checking the 3 hour now. Look, stock is back down the bottom. Stock RSI. 2 hour, the stock RSI is back at the bottom. There's divergence on the 2 hour. So now reversal, if it's going up, what would I be looking for? Is on the 1 hour, see this green line here? This is the 50 MA. So remember I said earlier on is on the EMAs, the 1 hour and the EMAs, you've got this drop down. They crossed over, they dropped down. Now that looks like it's coming up for its correction. It comes up and it back tests the 55. So now here's the 1 hour on the MAs. Look, I have the EMAs in here as well. So reversal, see the green 50 just above, is that I'll start to recognize this as a stronger reversal pattern if the 50, if the 5, the orange one, crosses over the 50 on the 1 hour, that's a very strong sign for reversal, that it's going up. If it doesn't break that, now it might wick through it, but if it doesn't get above it, back test it and move on, if it gets rejected, then I believe it's going to head down further. If it's a real reversal, it'll get above the 5, not just price action, but the 5, the orange, 5 MA here will cross above the 50. That's the proper confirmation of it, yeah. So that's what I'll be looking for. That's what I'll be looking for today, yeah. To continue that on is on the 2 hour, I'll be looking for the 5 to cross over the 20. This pink one here, yeah. Again for reversal. Is on the same for the 3 hour. On the 4 hour, I would be looking for the orange one to cross over the 10. See the blue, the light blue one here, yeah. Is unless they cross over, I won't view that as a true reversal. So that's what I'll be looking for. Today. Yeah. So now for a potential short or not short, potential trade for me today. Sorry, my mind went blank there. It definitely looks like there's a correction in play. This is moving quite strongly at the moment. Possibly when price action on the 1 hour, here's the 20 MA, the pink one, and the EMA is the white one. Price action might come up, hit off this, and come back down for a bit of a rejection, doing a 1-2. So if I see this 1-2 here, is when I see this getting pushed back down, is when I start to see this bottom out. I think what I will do is I will hop in on a long, and I'll look to travel up from, let's say, just as a target, to say 31.50 all the way up to about 32.90 or so. 32.90. If I put a fib on it, yeah. If I put a fib on it, the 786 potentially could bring it up to 33.60. 33.60. So I'll be watching it. I'll be if I get the double bottom here and I go in, I'll be watching it all the way up. 33.60 seems like a lot, but it's possible. So that's what I'm looking for. And then just one final thing I'll mention here about that is on the EMAs, you can see the bottom at the moment. There's the 5 crossing over the 55, also breaking the VWAP. Okay. You can see now this is the 15 minute. You can see the rejection off the 55 here. And again, there might be a bit of a pushback, and this could be where the double bottom comes in. It may not, because sometimes this pattern here has a tendency to be quite strong and move on up. So it may just come back to the VWAP. There may just be a back test to the VWAP. And again, when I see the rejection here, whether it breaks to the VWAP or comes lower, is when I see this push down, this rejection bottoming out, is I look for my target here. Yeah. And that's because I'm quite confident there's a bit of a correction going on. Yeah, just by looking at the rest of the MAs. Yeah. If I wasn't so confident, and maybe as I watch it, I'll see how I go. Is really I want to see the 20 cross over the 55, because when the 20 crosses over the 55, I know it's good for a much better lift. Yeah, so potentially it could come up close to it and get rejected and then come down. So if I see it getting pushed down here, I know it's going to come back for a test, even if it gets rejected. So let's say I jump in here, just as an example. Yeah. So price action gets a bit of a rejection here. Oh, look, I see it bottoming out, and then it goes back up. I'm on my target, and I'm looking for it up here. Yeah. But let's say that the 15, and I make it white so you know what I'm talking about. Let's say we get there, bounce back here, and then it heads on up, and the 15 looks like it's gonna break the 55, and then because there are times when you get it. Yesterday with the MACD was the same, and then it turns around and it gets a rejection and it starts that. Well, if I see that, I'd be coming out. I'll have a tight stop loss so that if that plays out, I'll have myself protected. So that's what I'll be looking at. Yeah. So we'll see how that plays out. There might be quite a strong push up here now, so this might just keep going up through this and not come back for that. And if that's the case, well then I may jump in. I may jump in along the way, or I may just wait. I'll watch and see. It depends on how price action moves. Yeah. So now just going back to this one, simply enough, is just to map it out a little easier. I'm mindful that there may still be a push down to the bottom of this channel here, so that's why I'm saying about the 15 EMA. I want to see the 15 EMA and how it performs. Yeah, but essentially, is as it stands now, is we get a back test here, a 1-2. I'll be looking to take that 1-2, and I'm just going to put it here as 3150, just as a potential. I'm making up 3150 in my head now, just as an example. Yeah, I'll be looking for my entry point around 3150. If it does come back that far, and I'll be looking. Normally, I like to put my target up at the 786 at 3360. Yeah. And I'll be watching it. I'll be watching it as it goes along. If this is for continuation as well, if it's not going to break up proper, we might just get a lift to the 05 at 3269 and then get a rejection back down. So I'm well aware that can happen as well. But again, at that point I'll have my stop loss at my entry point, and if I see it turning, I'll just take the profit. Yeah. So if that plays out, that is a 6.5% move. Let's say 6% move on a 10x. It's about 60%. So potentially there's a 60% profit there. Yeah. So that's where I'm at. So watch how the EMAs play out, and watch how the 15-minute plays out. So watch the 5 minute. Okay, you see it move, then watch as it comes to the 15 minute. And you see there's a rejection, and look, there's a bit, you can see the 20 is pushing back up there, so this may just push through, as I said, or we may come back for a bit more of a 1-2 movement. We'll see. The way it moves here, generally it keeps going. It doesn't come back, yeah, or it doesn't come back that much. So we'll see. We'll just have to watch it. Maybe I could predict that a little bit more by going into the MAs and looking at on the 5 minute. Tell you this now, yeah. Okay. So look, we're on the MAs in the 5 minute. Down the bottom, second on the right, the stock. The stock is bottomed out here on the 5 minute. So that's telling me that there's a lift here. So it can do a lift, and so it looks like there's going to be a bit more of a lift. However, there's the 200 MA on the 5 minute. So 200 MA in the 5 minutes is not so easy to pass. So you can see it's it's pushing through here, and it may tire itself out a little bit, breaking through this and end up coming back to get support on the VWAP. But we'll see how much support it has now. When we go to the 15, the stock on the 15, you'll see the stock on the 15 is at the top. Now again, that's quite normal here, because the stock on the 15 can stay pretty high, and still go up and do that final push before it comes back down. But I'm not sure whether it will, because the RSI is also coming into the oversold here as well. Yeah, so it's possible that the 15 minute might want to reset. So you can see it testing the 55 here. Here's the 5 and the 10 pushing, so it does look pretty strong for lift, but the 5 may take a turn down here. Is the stock on the 15 minute might want to do a reset before it heads up. So that could be possible, that we get that push down, we get the rejection first before it goes back up. So that's it. You can see the play of it there, yeah. We'll just see the RSI, the stock RSI, help read that a little bit more. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so that's me. I know I've talked a lot today, but you can see I'm just looking to make sense of what's going on the bigger time frame, on the smaller time frame, and then zoning in for looking for our trade today. Just to tie it all together. Yeah. So listen, enjoy the rest of your day. Good luck with your trading, and then I'll be posting in the chat along the way as well. All right, so have a good one, guys. Cheers.